Back in its heyday, the Los Angeles Times described it as one of the most famous bars in the world. It was truly a magical spot where movie stars and musicians mingled with tourists and locals on a tropical Caribbean island. Now, after a half-century break, Sloppy Joe's, one of Cuba's most iconic bars, has reopened. America's Now correspondent Michael Voss takes us there.
The cocktails are flowing once again at Sloppy Joe's in Havana. Before the revolution, this was the most fashionable bar in town. Now, it's back in business once again. It's taken 6 years of painstaking reconstruction, paid for by the government, to return the saloon to its original state. Ernesto Isnaga is the new general manager.
It's a mythical place, it's an historical place, and it's very important for the city, the rescue on every ancient scenes they have.
How close is this to the original bar?
It's very, very close. All the details, the wood, all the bottles behind the bar are exactly as the original.
Americans first flocked to Sloppy Joe's during Prohibition in the 1920s and 30s, when alcohol sales were banned in the United States. Cuba soon became America's tropical playground, with its mix of beaches, bars, casinos and nightclubs. And when it came to watering holes, Sloppy Joe's was one of the biggest and trendiest saloons of all. Everyone wanted their pictures taken here, from tourists to movie stars. The author, Ernest Hemingway, was a regular, seen here with actors Sir Alec Guinness and Noel Coward, who filmed scenes from the 1959 movie Our Man in Havana in Sloppy Joe's. Graham Greene wrote Our Man in Havana during the Cuban Revolution, when Fidel Castro was fighting the Batista regime from his hideouts in the Sierra Maestra Mountains. The book also noted that at Sloppy Joe's, tourists were sadly reduced nowadays in number, for the president's regime was creaking dangerously towards an end. And the fall of President Batista spelt the end for Sloppy Joe's. After the revolution, the bar was nationalized. The United States imposed a travel ban on tourists coming to Cuba, and it wasn't long before Sloppy Joe's closed down. Now some are wondering if this newly reopened bar is an indication that the Cubans are anticipating the day that Washington finally lifts its travel ban. As the recent visit by American performers, Beyoncé and Jay-Z, highlighted, more US tourists are coming to Cuba legally these days on so-called people-to-people exchanges.
More than 50 cats down here in this room.
One of the big attractions is likely to be the Hemingway Trail. Ernest Hemingway's home on the outskirts of Havana is already a major tourist destination. The native of suburban Chicago lived here for more than 20 years. It's where he wrote The Old Man and the Sea. Even bigger attractions are the bars where Hemingway drank and entertained his celebrity friends like Spencer Tracy, who starred in the film version of The Old Man and the Sea. This is the Floridita, which has long traded on his name and today pulls in coachloads of tourists making day trips to Havana from their beach resorts. Much smaller but always packed is the Bodeguito del Medio, another Hemingway watering hole which claims to have invented the rum and fresh mint cocktail, the mojito. Now, with the reopening of Sloppy Joe's, there's a third Hemingway bar to add to the list. And it didn't take long for those in the know, like Angela Hemingway, to find it.
So what's your relationship to Hemingway?
I was married to his eldest son, Jack Hemingway, better known as Bumby.
What's your impression coming here and seeing all these old pictures?
Well, I just think it's wonderful. It's nostalgic, and just wonderful. I wish I'd have been here during those days. However, my late husband had been here and told me many stories about it.
Some of today's customers remember drinking in the original Sloppy Joes. Lino Betancourt is a retired Cuban journalist who used to hang out here in those days trying to interview celebrities for a local magazine.
I used to come here a lot, especially in the early morning, because this bar never closed. I'd come here at dawn and have a beer and eat some pickled fish, which was delicious here. I'm sincerely very emotional to see how they have managed to reconstruct this elegant, refined bar, which attracts such interesting people. To sit down at what was once the longest bar in the world, so I am told.
The 52-foot-long mahogany bar has been carefully reproduced and is the centerpiece of Sloppy Joe's. Having so much photographic evidence was a huge help to the architects. When the restoration was first being planned, Maximo Gomez was a curator at the Hemingway Museum and provided several pictures of Sloppy Joe's from the archives.
The work I did with the pictures and the photographs I selected at that time were of details. I noticed everything, like the lamps, which could help with the restoration. It has the ambience and the atmosphere of that time.
And it isn't just the architecture that they've tried to recreate. The bar was famous for its range of cocktails, and the manager, Ernesto Iznaga, went back to the original cocktail recipe book to reinvent the Sloppy Joe.
So this is the original pre-revolutionary Sloppy Joe cocktail?
Yeah.
What's in it?
It's a control liquor, pineapple juice, brandy, and port.
Cheers.
Cheers, sir.
Oh, that's strong.
But it's very good.
There are other new bars in town, mostly privately owned and aimed at younger, hipper local crowds. But Sloppy Joe's looks set to become another classic tourist destination.